Chapter 4, Psychic Symbol.
Greetings. Welcome to Chapter 4, Psychic Symbol. Take 2. The yogic tradition has described 3 aspects of meditation. 1. Awareness of the practitioner, the person who is practicing meditation. 2. The aim or goal which the practitioner wishes to attain through the technique or process of meditation. And 3. The process that the practitioner adopts. When all 3 become one, then the meditative experience dawns and we lose awareness of body and mind. There is nothing but the meditative experience, and that state is called jhana. When we become one with the meditative experience, it becomes a living experience. When the concept of duality no longer exists and there is only one experience, this is known as liberation of the mind. In the beginning, however, the awareness of each practitioner is different, and each aims at a different level of conscious evolution. Although the thoughts and motivations of one practitioner may seem to be similar or the same as those of another, the evolutionary level of the mind is at a different stage. The evolutionary level of the mind has to be observed through a process of self-observation. After observing oneself, one can decide which areas of the personality need to be developed. Every individual is a composition of head, heart, and hands. The head represents buddhi, or intellectual aspect of life. The heart represents the emotional or feeling aspect, the spontaneous, natural, non-rational expressions of life. The hands represent action, the drive to act, to be a participant in this world club of which we are all life members. We begin like this, by integrating and harmonizing the sensory organs and the organs of action, because the mind itself is a sensory organ. The spirit is attracted to the dimension of prakriti, the world of tangible experiences, which it perceives through the 5 jnanendriyas, or sensory organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. The 5 karmendriyas, or physical organs: hands, feet, anus, sexual organs, and speech. And through the total mind, or mahat, which includes the faculties of manas, rational mind, buddhi, intellect, chitta, memory, and ahamkara, ego. Each of these mental faculties is also considered as a separate, subtle sense. In pratyahara, there is a gradual withdrawal of externalized sensory experiences so that dissipation and distraction do not occur. The mind must go through a gradual training process to perfect pratyahara, which may take many years. After mastering sensory withdrawal, dharana begins, where there is total, one-pointed concentration on the symbol, object, or process of meditation. Eventually, there must be a merging of mind with the experience of mind, a merger of the 2 identities, me and you, subject and object. As long as we are going through the process of merging, we are in the stages of pratyahara and dharana. When the merger takes place, we are in the stages of jhana and samadhi. However, until we have merged ourselves, we cannot say that we practice meditation. We can only say that we are practicing methods to improve our awareness and concentration. In order to come to the stage of jhana and samadhi, there must be pranic awakening as well, because there is a very intimate relationship between prana and mind. Tools of meditation. In order to consolidate the mind, 3 tools are necessary: psychic sound, psychic symbol, and psychic breath. These 3 tools are used in the stages of pratyahara and dharana in order to perfect the meditation process. They provide a basis or a support which the mind can hold on to when the sensory input is cut off. In the process of meditation, as the concentration becomes intensified, the attention is diverted from the sensory perception to the object of concentration. At this time, there is a tendency to lose touch with the experience of time, space, and object as the awareness moves toward the unconscious dimension. In this state, the mind is overcome by drowsiness, as the physical and psychological perceptions are lost. In short, it means that we become sleepy. In the state of sleep, the mind is diverted to different areas of experience. It begins to dream, imagine, and fantasize, and the meditative state is lost. So, there has to be a support on which the mind that has been divested of its identity with the senses can rest. That is the purpose of using the 3 tools of meditation. There is a story about a caravan in the desert which explains this concept very clearly. A caravan was traveling at night. When it was time to rest, the travelers erected tents and tied up their camels. Unfortunately, one man had lost the hook for securing his camel, so the camel remained loose. The man was worried about his camel being untied, so he went to the leader of the caravan and told him his problem. The leader said, "Don't worry about the hook. Just go through the same motion of tying your camel up, and the camel will not go anywhere." So the man returned to his camel and went through the motions of tying it up. The camel sat down and did not move from that spot all night. The next morning, everybody was getting ready to resume the journey, but this man's camel would not get up. The man could not understand why his camel would not get up like the other camels had done. So, again, he went to the leader of the caravan and asked him what he should do. The leader said, "Now go through the motions of unhitching the camel as you would normally do if it had been tied up." So the man went through the motions of untying the rope, and the camel immediately stood up. The meaning of this story is obvious. There is actually no bondage within the mind. However, due to our mental conditioning, we feel that we must be bound. The mind feels a need for support, a need to be tied down. So in our own mind, we go through the motions of hitching and unhitching our own mental camel. This is where the tools of meditation are important. We use them as a support for the mind when we are entering the uncharted dimensions of the subconscious and unconscious. This is why there are so many mantras, symbols, and meditation practices. They are all intended to act as a support for the mind, as a focal point for concentration, as the awareness penetrates into deeper and deeper levels of consciousness. The barrier of Laya. Every meditation practice utilizes something that the mind can grasp on, which it can take hold. It can be the breath, the mantra, the symbol. In Nada Yoga, it is the gross and subtle sound. In Ajapa Japa, it is the combination of psychic passage, psychic breath, and psychic sound. In Akasha Dharana, it is the inner space. In Tritaka, it is the various objects viewed externally as well as internally. One's awareness is always fixed on an object or a process. This is because the mind naturally and spontaneously molds itself around the objects of perception. In day-to-day life, the mind does this continually with various external objects and thoughts. Without an object of perception, one lapses into a state of unconsciousness. This also applies to meditation practice. Many people sit for meditation without fixing their attention on a specific object. They merely close their eyes and allow the mind to wander here and there like a wild monkey. They either brood about their problems or fall into a state of sleep. Neither of these states is a meditative experience. We can practice like this for 100 years and gain absolutely nothing. Therefore, we should try to maintain continuous awareness of an object or whatever process the practice involves. As we progress along the path of meditation, we become more and more relaxed. The natural thing to do at this time is to sleep. This is the barrier of Laya, unconsciousness, which prevents us from diving deep into our being. This barrier can only be crossed by the adoption of a symbol or method which holds the concentration. Actually, this tendency towards Laya or unconsciousness is a safety mechanism. It prevents us from delving into the deeper dimensions of the mind prematurely. The subconscious fears, neuroses, and apparitions must be confronted, but the process should take place slowly in a controlled way. The mind has to be gradually purified and harmonized over a period of time. If there is a sudden perception of a great flood of subconscious fears, then we will be overwhelmed by the negative contents of our own mind. So laya is a protective screen which can only be crossed when the negative karma and samskaras have been exhausted. Then the symbol or the object of concentration must be utilized. Sakara and nirakara. The word sakara means with form, and nirakara means without form. Whether meditation should be sakara or nirakara has been the main controversy amongst spiritual seekers for millennia. In the Ishavasya Upanishad, verse 12, it states that those who worship the unmanifest reality enter into blinding darkness. Those who worship the manifest enter into even greater darkness. This verse has many meanings, but we will confine our discussion to its implications regarding laya and symbol. In Sakara meditation, where one's awareness is fixed on a definite focal point or object, concentration takes place within the manifest dimension. In nirakara meditation, where one does not fix the awareness at any definite focal point, concentration takes place within the unmanifest dimension. This includes those practices where the awareness is allowed to freely explore the mind and psyche while reflecting on such abstract concepts as infinity, Brahman, God, etc. How is it that both of these types of practice lead to darkness? The reason is that both Sakara and nirakara meditation practices are a means to an end. They are not the end itself. Meditation on form can easily degenerate into mere idol worship. People have worshipped idols and deities without the slightest idea of the purpose behind their worship. The same thing can happen with a mantra, a symbol, or any other object of meditation. The symbol becomes an object of intellectual speculation rather than a means of transcendence. Therefore, the Upanishad states that those who worship the manifest enter into even greater darkness. The purpose of the object is to lead the awareness to that which is beyond intellectual speculation. Therefore, many people prefer to reflect upon abstract concepts. However, in this regard, the Upanishad states that those who worship the unmanifest reality enter into blinding darkness. This is because most people are not prepared for this type of meditation. In this case, meditation on such themes as infinity, Brahman, God, etc., tend to degenerate into intellectual speculations, which are not based on deep experience. This leads away from the path of meditation. Nirakara meditation leads to laya, unconsciousness, and sleep. Thus, the Upanishad warns us to be careful of both Sakara and Nirakara meditation and to try and understand their purpose and place. First of all, there must be intense Sakara meditation practice in order to purify the mind and make it one-pointed. In the following verse, the Upanishad explains meditation on the manifest, Sakara, brings a specific experience. Meditation on the unmanifest, Nirakara, leads to a different experience. Here, the Upanishad indicates that Sakara meditation leads to a specific level of understanding and experience, while Nirakara meditation leads to a different level. Both of them are essential and must be practiced at the right time for the evolution of consciousness. Hence, the Upanishad states in the next verse, "He who knows that both the manifest, Sakara, and the unmanifest, Nirakara, are really one, overcomes death through the manifest and obtains immortality through the unmanifest." That's a key right there. He who knows that both the manifest and the unmanifest are really one overcomes death through the manifest and obtains immortality through the unmanifest. This verse indicates the integration of the manifest and the unmanifest, the Sakara and the Nirakara. One should eventually see the formless in all forms and all forms in the formless. But this understanding can only come after both Sakara and Nirakara meditation have been perfected. Continuous practice of Sakara meditation will eventually lead you across the river of death, the barrier of unconsciousness. Then, having obtained this realization, one should reflect upon the formless, unmanifest Nirakara. This reflection will arise spontaneously. This is the point where one crosses over from one practice into the meditative experience, which is beyond intellectual understanding. Wow. See, I read that the first time and went off into this long rant connecting that chapter to what Dion Fortune was talking about in the mystical Kabbalah. And then I realized that I wasn't recording, so I guess that wasn't supposed to be.
Even without knowing about Hermetics or Kabbalah, this information here really paints the picture between the different realms of experience, right? We just got finished. Oh no, I wasn't recording.
Please pay close attention to what was said in that chapter, because this is only like the 4th verse, and these are incredibly potent and useful occult axioms and informations, right? This isn't anything like difficult to conceptualize, but really, if you tie this into everything we've been learning so far about Hermetics and Kabbalah, you begin to connect these dots. We're talking about the unmanifest, which relates to the etheric plane, the astral plane, the mental plane, and Kether. And we're talking about the manifest, which is everything in Malkuth, or the world of Isaiah. We're talking about the connection there, and through experience, not just us talking about big words and intellectualizing it all, but through experience, if you're able to see the unmanifest within the manifest and the manifest within the unmanifest, you begin to experience that timelessness that leads to liberation. When you come to that understanding day after day after day, you start to naturally disconnect from illusion, and you start to identify with ultimate reality, which is that equilibrium of Kether, the unmanifest within the manifest within the unmanifest. There's a balance there, right? We're coming away from this world of 5 senses and separation into this world of purity and unfiltered, unconditioned experience. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, and it's not easy. It takes work, but this is possible. This isn't something that's far away and you have to be a holy Buddha to get there. You get there gradually, and the more that you practice, the more intimate you become with this truth that the physical reality is an illusion. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist and, we're in a computer. No, it means that it's not what it seems. It means that the truth behind physical reality is deeper than what we've been taught, because the people who teach us don't know, right? Our teachers don't know, our parents don't know, our politicians, our church pastors, they don't know this stuff. So of course nobody ever taught it to you. That's why we study. That's why we study and research from different, different cultures. Because in the beginning, all this information was consolidated across the world. But as time went on, it began to get spread out more and more. Just like in the beginning of Kether, ultimate reality was all together as one thing. But as time progressed, it began to spread out and separate. So we're going back up the tree of life. We're going back within, reaching liberation and reaching nirvana. Not just through intellectualizing these words, but by doing the work. By sitting down, by meditating, by going within, like this book talked about. Keep reading. There's a lot of deep information here that can be applied, that should be applied immediately and regularly. So yeah, I'll save the rest for Sunday.